Landport Bottom lies in the northwest of Lewes in East Sussex and is part of 44 acres of downland and 3 large fields with views over the South Downs National Park, which it is part of. Lewes District Council and Town Council own the site. The area is no longer farmed as arable and the chalk grassland is being recreated as it is a threatened habitat. Landport Bottom is florally rich and has rare birds such as the skylark. The Environmental Stewardship Scheme oversees the running of the site, and Plumpton College grazes with sheep during the summer. It is also now part of the new Brighton and Lewes Downs biosphere, recognised by UNESCO, which aims to bring people and nature closer together. Night hawking means to illegally search and remove antiquities from the ground using metal detectors without permission from the landowner on protected ground such as scheduled monuments. It happens during the day too, which means day hawk. A night hawk can be someone who has discovered a treasure find and not declared it within 14 days. At the moment, non-treasure finds do not need to be legally registered with the Portable Antiquities Scheme. The Treasure Act 1996 defines treasure as gold and silver objects, at least 10% by weight, and groups of coins from the same finds over 300 years old. There is a legal obligation to report items under the Act. Prehistoric base metal assemblages found after the 1st of January 2003, i.e. not precious metal, are classed as treasure also. The public should contact their local finds liaison officer for advice. Night hawking is the theft of, by a few, of the heritage of the many. Heritage is a finite resource that provides information about our common past. A 2006 night hawking survey found 240 affected sites reported in the UK between 1995 and 2008. Not many arrests or prosecutions for night hawking have perhaps encouraged the belief that it is a low-risk crime. The Portable Antiquities Scheme, or PAS, is a government-funded project to encourage the voluntary recording of archaeological objects found by the public in England and Wales. This provides guidance for recording and reporting finds. It seeks to improve links between the public, archaeologists and metal detectorists. They have found many instances of detected objects being found on being sold on eBay with no provenance information. However, public awareness of heritage crime is increasing. The PAS, the 1996 Treasure Act, the Code of Practice for Responsible Metal Detecting, which basically says that you should ask permission to the landowner, record information systematically, adhere to the law and report all finds, and the National Council for Metal Detecting have been cited as beneficial. The site is important historically as the Battle of Lewes in 1264 took place here, and there is also a scheduled ancient monument of a platform barrow and 2 bowl barrows. Lewes itself refers to an Anglo-Saxon word meaning hill and is probably connected to the barrows at Landport Bottom. Platform barrows are burial monuments from the Bronze Age 2000 to 700 BC and are the rarest type of round barrow. They appear as flat-top mounds of earth surrounded by a shallow ditch, sometimes with an entrance causeway. Quite low in the landscape, few have been excavated and not much is known about them. Because they're so rare and fragile, they are considered to be important nationally. Bowl barrows themselves are the most frequent of round barrows, dating from the late Neolithic to the late Bronze Age, 2400 to 1500 BC. They cover single or multiple burials and are important landscape elements. There is some scrub intrusion and disturbance on the site, but the barrow group survives reasonably well. The platform barrow is the finest instance in East Sussex. Its relationship with a Neolithic causewayed enclosure and a cluster of barrows 700 metres to the northeast shows the significance of this area for ritualistic and funerary practices during the late Neolithic and Bronze Age. The site was scheduled in 1963. Scheduling is the process by which nationally important sites and monuments are given legal protection by being placed on a list or schedule. They have protection from disturbance or unlicensed metal detecting. An application for scheduled monument consent needs to be made to the Secretary of State before any work can be carried out in the area. English Heritage advises the Minister on each application and administers the consent system. It is illegal to use a metal detector or remove an object found without a licence from English Heritage at a scheduled monument. Conviction can lead to a fine. The relevant legislation is the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Areas Act 1979, which is very clear on the protection offered. So, in the area at Landport Bottom, the Battle of Lewes happened in May 1264, when Henry III's army and Baron Simon de Montfort's fought just outside the town walls. Henry III lost, and after the encounter, de Montfort summoned the first representative English Parliament. The battle was fought in the area of Lewes Prison, the old racecourse, and Landport Bottom. Landport Bottom is the official battlefield site, but the fighting continued on Western Road and also on the High Street. The battlefield scene itself is basically unchanged from the grassland that was there in 1264, and is registered on the Register of Historic Battlefields by English Heritage for its special historic interest. The Register of Historic Battlefields contains 43 important English battlefields, offering protection and enhancing knowledge of their importance. Different reasons for registration can include historical change, for example, the Norman Conquest or civil wars that changed the constitution of the country. Also, battlefields contain many remains of soldiers, rich and poor, who were killed during battles. And there could also be important archaeological evidence which may allow us to understand better their history. The register itself is not legally binding, but must be a consideration during the planning process for any new construction. The Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Areas Act 1979 says that if a person uses a metal detector in a protected place without the written consent of the Secretary of State, they will be guilty of an offence. Protected place means any place which is either the site of a scheduled monument or of any monument under the ownership or guardianship of the Secretary of State or a local authority, or also situated in an area of archaeological importance. The battleground is owned by Lewes District and Town Council, and is also an important archaeological site, and so therefore is protected under this Act. The Battlefields Trust. This was a charity set up in 1993 to help defend battlefields from development and destruction. Members set up boards of information and prepare battlefield trails for the public to follow on site. They have a great resource centre on the web at battlefieldstrust.com for students and visitors. They say that the biggest threat to battlefield sites is from non-systematic survey and collection of artefacts. Interpretation depends on being able to understand the relative density of finds, and hobby detectoring removes archaeological evidence, preventing the evaluation of data that is possible if work is carried out to best practice. The Natural England Environmental Stewardship Scheme also gives extra protection from metal detecting. It is only allowed provided that it is undertaken with best practice laid down in the current Code of Practice for England and Wales. All finds must be reported to the Portable Antiquities Scheme. Metal detecting is not allowed on scheduled monuments, SSIs and known archaeological sites under grassland, remembering that this site is under chalk grassland. The agreement requires managers to protect and retain archaeological sites over the entire area under agreement. At a 2010 archaeological conference, the National Council for Metal Detecting pulled out, saying in a later statement about their concern about the emphasis on nighthawking being used to attack metal detection instead of the lawbreakers. I believe that responsible metal detecting has an important place in the archaeological field, helping to locate lost historical treasures, but detectorists must adhere to scientific, legal and also moral principles.